Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Did you know that your digestive tract is home to the largest part of your immune system? Today on the show, Bob and Rollie break down the digestive system and how it protects our bodies and helps produce the energy we need to stay on our A game. They also share some of the reasons why indigestion starts to happen as we get older and how to keep your digestive system healthy and performing at optimal levels. Learn what foods to eat and which to avoid, and some of the common misconceptions people have about antacids and acid reflux that can actually make indigestion worse. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Live Forever Young Radio. I am here with Rollie. Listen, here we are a couple of weeks now post Lightning having won their second straight Stanley Cup.
That's right. And we are celebrating still because we are in Tampa Bay, and you know that's something we've come accustomed to. So it's great to be here.
And now that the Lightning have that second cup securely in hand, we've changed our attention for the next month to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yes.
We're tied for first place with the Boston Red Sox.
Yes, they are.
The Red Sox will be coming to town on the weekend.
Yes, so we'll have a little in-town Boston visit that will just spank them while they're there, you know.
And then, similarly, about a month from now, you're going to have football season start.
Yep.
And the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers will begin their quest for their second straight championship.
Another back-to-backer.
And about 5 weeks into the year, they're going to play the team from Boston.
That's right.
Also known as the New England Patriots.
That's right.
Right.
It'll be a meeting of the Tom Brady with the former Bill Belichick coach. It's going to be one for the ages.
Right. And so it's no coincidence that these champion athletes are here close by in the morphic field of the Boomers Forever Young Superstar Nutrition Company.
That's right. It's
and
no
just
coincidence.
the fact that they're in the same city helps them perform better.
I could say it's something like an energy bubble.
Yeah, that's it.
We all feed into.
Yeah. And today we're going to talk about how to increase your energy by improving your digestion.
Absolutely. It's easy to do, but you gotta actually think about it.
Yeah.
Most people don't think about what they're doing when they're eating, and that's part of the problem. So
exactly.
Anyway, we'll get to that.
And so why would we want to do this? Because so many people have trouble with their digestion.
A lot of people. A lot of people go to the doctor.
Eat their meals, and afterwards they don't feel very good. They have gastric reflux. They have bloating. And then it can carry on into the night, can even cause trouble sleeping. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people show up at the doctor complaining of problems with digestion.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about what we can do about that today with just using some common sense, but then also some more sophisticated knowledge about how parts of the digestive system work that can make it so you'll be someone who has really good digestion, does not have any of the problems that people get who have poor digestion, including things like allergies and bloating and leaky gut and things like that.
Yeah, you were talking about sleeping too, how it affects when you're sleeping. I know a lot of people, well, not a lot, but I know a couple people. One of them lives here in town. She's got to sleep sitting up because she's got such a bad problem when she lays down. All the issues with the digestion and the esophageal reflux come into play.
And so one of the things, Rollie, is when you eat. So many people will eat way too late at night.
Yeah, that's not good.
And they'll eat snacks right before they go to bed.
Yeah, sometimes I've done that.
Really
that's
want to do.
Good.
You want to eat your meal at 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and if you're going to bed at 10 or 11, your food will be mostly digested by then, and you can avoid this up all night in a sitting position type of thing.
But it's hard when you want that, ice cream before you go to bed, you know. So I guess you just do that earlier. Right. Eat a little earlier. Don't eat a whole bunch of ice cream, but a little because you can,
Or you use the emotional freedom technique to help break your addiction to ice cream at nighttime.
It's not necessarily an addiction, it's a treat.
Anyway, it's
you're
addiction.
Right. We can always tap on that. We can work on that.
It's a treat until it keeps you up at night, then it's an addiction.
Yes, then you're right. Okay. Right. If it's to that point, you're right.
And so digestion actually starts before people eat a meal, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Just saying, hey, let's go get some dinner or let's start making dinner, already you start to produce digestive enzymes in your mouth.
Yeah,
okay?
that's the salivary
And certainly
glands
as you're
going
cooking
crazy.
and you begin to smell the food, right, you're making digestive enzymes in your mouth. And so when you put the food in your mouth, it already begins to digest it, and you have to make sure that you chew really well so that the food has an opportunity to partly digest because of the enzymes that are in your mouth. And a good majority of your digestion happens in your mouth. But if you're gulping your food and not chewing it, or if you're just drinking a shake or a smoothie, for example, you are not allowing it to sit in your mouth at all. It's making it much harder for you to digest that food.
I mean, your mom probably yelled at you, chew your food, slow down, chew your food. But, it sounds cliche, but it's actually one of those things that's extremely important because it's actually your pre-digestive period here. Once you get the mouth saliva going, you got the mastication, and you're getting ready to eat and chew. That's really a big part of it.
Yes.
And most people, if you're eating something that's, you're in the car, you're on the go, processed food, which is, again, something bad we'll get to later. But if you're just shoving that in your mouth, then
it's not getting properly digested. And also, a lot of people's terrain of their mouth is not conducive for digestion because there's also good bacteria in your mouth that digests food.
Right.
But if you have if your mouth is overrun by bad bacteria and you have gingivitis, it makes it much more difficult to digest your food. So a good practice for people is to do what's called oil pulling. So you can get coconut oil and put it into your mouth when you wake up in the morning, switch it around, and keep it in your mouth for as long as you can. Do something else while you're swishing the coconut oil. Shave, whatever, iron your shirt, whatever you're going to do.
Right.
And then spit this out and rinse your mouth really well. And then there are other things you can do because now you're going to have a lot of this bad bacteria that's been pulled up out of your gums. So you can use hydrogen peroxide to put into your mouth, or we have a product called Hydrolyte, which you can put 1 drop onto your tongue and it'll kill all the bacteria.
Now, once you kill all the bacteria, though, you have a fresh palate.
Yes.
And that's good to be clean, but you want to recultivate it.
So what I do is I take a pinch of our powdered probiotic, put it into my mouth, let the saliva dissolve it, I swish it all around, and then swallow that.
Yes.
Okay? You never want to swallow the oil that you've been doing oil pulling with because now all that bad bacteria is going to end up in your stomach. And you don't want that.
I wouldn't do that anyway.
Yes.
That's gross.
So that's how you want to take care of your mouth. And of course, flossing, a water pick, brushing, all of that is critically important as well. You want your mouth to be in really great shape to help with your digestion.
Yeah, it's funny that you say your mouth. We were talking to somebody and he was having an issue with his mouth, and it ended up giving him some issues with his cardiac system. And so it was like, wow, you don't really realize how much your mouth has to do with your whole body health. So definitely clean your toothbrushes.
Absolutely. And so the second part of that digestion is the food now arrives in your stomach, hopefully partly digested from chewing it. And so now in your stomach, you're going to be digesting the food further with digestive enzymes, some of which will digest fat and then proteins and carbohydrates. And then you're also going to have acid. Stomach acid is going to be produced to break down the food. And then just before you begin to release that, what's called chyme, which is the liquid now that's in your stomach, you're going to release it to your small intestine.
Right.
And just before you do, you're going to alkalize it somewhat with pancreatic enzymes so it doesn't arrive in your small intestine too acidic, and then you're going to then cough it back up because if it arrives too acidic, it's not going to, your small intestine will reject it.
Right. Now,
and that's this gastric reflux that we're talking about.
Right. The first one we were talking about, which is gastric reflux. And, and this step is where a lot of people think that, well, this is where they have an issue, but a lot of people think that the issue is that they're making too much acid, especially when you get older, because as you get older, you make less and less digestive enzymes to break the foods down.
Right.
And so that's why like people in their late 30s and 40s that didn't have stomach issues before start eating things, and it's like, oh my God, gas and bloating and, reflux, it starts happening then, because that's naturally when the amount of enzymes you're making inherently in your body goes down, right? So
Yep.
here we've got a lot of things that you can buy that are actually trying to pump down the amount of acid you make from the drugstore, and that's actually can sometimes make things worse.
Yeah.
Because the real thing here is you might need more of the
Yes.
enzymes, and you're trying to push the acid that helps break it down and the enzymes down.
Yeah. When you take acid reducing, products, it's going to make your digestion even more difficult for sure. The other thing you want to be sure to avoid is drinking lots of water, particularly alkaline water, with your meals, because you're now diluting your stomach acid and making digestion more difficult.
Yeah, right, because the alkalinity will knock out the acidity,
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with that. It's just something
So
people don't think about.
the next step from there is you're going to then release that chyme into your small intestine,
Right.
where almost all of your absorption of nutrients occurs in your small intestine.
Absolutely.
And so you have these
Little
little hair-like structures called villi, which is where the nutrients are absorbed. And the villi are very active and work really well when you're younger. But as you start to age, 40 years old, 50 years old, those villi don't work as well. They get coated over with a plaque that makes it hard for absorption. And so we like to help people with that issue. There's a compound in our sprouted barley seeds that helps to cleanse away that plaque, and they'll be restored. The villi will be restored at that point, and now you can have absorption of nutrients as if you were a much younger person. Even at a very old age, people can absorb their nutrients like a young person using this technique.
Yeah, a lot of the people that have had stomach issues, like the standard IBS and those type of things, that have had issues like that, have used the barley, and they've actually had a lot of relief, because it's going at those villi, which is part of the reason they can't absorb anything, and it's hard to move through and break anything down and use the nutrients from. So it helps to solve a lot of malnourishing issues as well. Because you could eat stuff and then not absorb any of the nutrients because your villi are coated over. So you might be taking some of the best vitamins, but if you can't absorb vitamins, they're not going to do any good. So by cleansing the villi with the Gladiator heirloom barley, that's actually going to help to give you more nutrition absorption and a healthier digestive system at the same time.
Absolutely. And then the other thing, about your small intestine is not only the villi, but the balance of bacteria in your small intestine.
That's the second one of the most important things, really.
Because the bacteria that's in your small intestine helps with digestion. If you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria in your small intestine, you're going to be really sick. They call this SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And what they mean is overgrowth of the bad bacteria, and people can be very, very sick with this syndrome. Right? And so taking good bacteria by mouth, it colonizes your mouth, helps colonize your stomach with good bacteria, which helps to kill pathogens that come in through your food, right? And also colonizes both your small and large intestine.
Yeah.
Right? So that the good bacteria will keep the bad bacteria colonies down, so you don't get things like this bad bacterial overgrowth.
Right.
Right.
A lot of the people that call that they say they have issues. It's kind of funny, but I've had people who talk about they have like toe funguses that won't go away, and they have things like that, and that's something that I've seen as a symptom of this overgrowth of the candida overgrowth, because it's got nowhere else to go. It's got so much overgrowth in the gut that it starts expressing itself in other ways. So that's kind of crazy.
Exactly. And the other thing, Rollie, that happens in the small intestine is your gallbladder comes into play, where it begins to release, bile into the small intestine to help with digestion of fats. And so you also want to tend closely to your gallbladder.
Okay.
Right? And the best way to tend to your gallbladder is through your diet. Right. So people's gallbladders will become diseased from eating too many processed foods, too much sugar, too many foods with toxins in them, glycotoxins and the like. And so you want to be sure that your gallbladder is healthy enough to participate in the digestion. Otherwise, when you can't digest fats very well, you feel sick, you feel nauseous, right? And that's why people don't feel good when they're having trouble with their gallbladder, because they're not digesting their fats. And it tends to go through you and create diarrhea and bloating and pain and upset, intestinal upset.
It's funny, a lot of people think the gallbladder is something you can live without because we don't use it the way we used to, but really it's one of the things that a lot of people I've heard they get it taken out and then they have kind of worse problems than they had before. Because they're missing that piece of the puzzle in the digestive system.
If you're missing your gallbladder, you want to pay even closer attention to using digestive enzymes. So you can take digestive enzymes from a pill form with your meals. And if you do not have a gallbladder, you might want to take a little more digestive enzymes, particularly the type that digest your fat.
Okay. It's making my stomach hurt.
Yeah. And so now, once you've done absorption of nutrients,
Right.
the bacteria has interacted with your chyme, it can now move into your large intestine where a whole separate set of reactions are going to occur. And you have lots and lots of good bacteria and some bad bacteria in your large intestine. Okay? Between your large and small intestine, you have 10 times as many bacteria as you have human cells. So even though we are considered to be human beings, we have human DNA, but we also have 10 times as many bacterial cells as we have human cells.
So we're more bacteria, really.
More bacterial cells, but the human cells have more robust DNA.
Okay.
Right?
So they express.
Yeah. So you want to pay attention to your gut bacteria all the time. You want to make sure you're taking good bacteria in because it helps to prevent leaky gut, and it also creates your metabolites.
Yeah, we talked about in the other show we just did. Actually, I think it was our last show. What's what with leaky gut? We talked about how the gut itself it has to have tight. You have to have tight
Junction.
so it doesn't let any of the toxins
want
out.
the cells tight together without a little alleyway for things to leak out.
Right.
And having good bacteria is the key to that. And so in your large intestine, the good bacteria, is going to interact with components of the food that you ate, particularly fiber, and is going to create metabolites.
Right.
Also, the food that you ate, plant foods have components in them called polyphenols that are going to activate the genome of these bacteria in your large intestine, which then in turn creates metabolites that activate the human genome. And this is how you express the instructions from your DNA for the purpose of making all the proteins that we need. And so a healthy balance in your large intestine and the right amount of fiber is very critical. What we like to do is give people a powdered probiotic, which is already made into metabolites.
Yeah, we call them dumb for you metabolites because that's really the process you're trying to get to by taking in regular probiotics and then undigestible fiber, or prebiotics as a lot of people call them. Combining those two in the gut make the metabolites. But the process we put ours through, those metabolites are already in there. So you get to kind of skip a process of that.
And even somebody who does not have a large intestine can absorb those metabolites in their small intestine and have them available for their metabolic pathways.
Right. So people who've had issues and had that gone, they have the actual ability to create it, even though there's nowhere to create it because it comes in the bottle already.
Yeah.
So.
And so that's pretty much it, Raleigh,
That's about all.
that's the outline of digestion. So pay attention to the bacterial colonies in your mouth. Make sure your mouth is clean. You don't have bacterial infection in your mouth or gingivitis. And then pay attention to the digestion in your stomach. Pay attention to the digestion and absorption in your small intestine. Pay attention to the creation of metabolites and keeping your large intestine sealed so you don't end up with leaky gut.
And one of the easiest ways is to literally think about what you're eating, guys.
Yeah,
Watch out for the processed foods, the sugars, all those things that you probably shouldn't be eating, the trans fats. Those are all causing a lot of this issue. So look for a good diet and try to, it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. But that is one of the things that is the main cause of it. 60% of the diet we ate is the standard American diet, are all these things I just named off that we shouldn't be eating. So let's look a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. So, Rollie, I think that's it for today.
That's all I got.
Thanks very much for being with us, and thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to Live Forever Young Radio. We'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.